My Hero Academia isn't doing well. Just because there are a few things that My Hero has done quite well in the past, like the art which is quite good, and Shigaraki who's a pretty good antagonist, doesn't mean I'm just gonna hop on the bandwagon and start sucking off My Hero Academia. But apart from what I just mentioned, lately there hasn't been a ton of super good stuff going on for My Hero Academia. And just because of the good things it's done in the past, doesn't mean I'm gonna narratively say it's good now. But I don't want to talk about prior arcs, instead I'm gonna focus on Dabi versus Todoroki, the main fight that happened very recently. In terms of the actual fight, it was pretty good. My Hero is a series that has a lot of talking in its fights, compared to the raw choreography of Jujutsu Kaisen or Demon Slayer. And I will say the exchanges Dabi and Todoroki had were pretty good, even if their lines were corny as fuck.
Oh my god, bro.
Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck?
Dabi's backstory was decent enough, one of the best in My Hero, but still far below the likes of Overhaul and Shigaraki. To simplify it, his backstory pretty much ended up being that he was driven purely by his grudge, so somewhat similar to many other antagonists of the series, but rather than something like wanting to uproot the hero society, it's due to a grudge, albeit the grudge is quite warranted. I'm not a big fan of this route for Dabi, as I feel like it could have been portrayed in a far better way, but it might just be because I don't really like Dabi's personality, as it feels very generic. So similar to his personality, the portrayal of his backstory and motives didn't really have a genuine feel that a lot of other new gen shonen have. But his backstory is pretty good, I just don't see the appeal many people found from it. Now on to Todoroki's big power-up, which is one of my more major complaints with the fight. Like I'm gonna talk about in a bit, the addition of this new move pretty much ruined the stakes for the fight, albeit the stakes were already quite low. The ability itself makes sense, I guess. It has a very similar concept to what's portrayed early on, it's just explained better. Basically using his fire side and ice side at the same time, it heats up and cools his blood at the same time, creating a regulation or nullification of the sides, or of the side effects of both abilities. There is one minor issue with the functionality. Like I just went over, this ability functions by ice and fire nullifying each other out and having cold and hot blood run through his body. But my question is, why didn't this ability manifest in the first instance he used both sides simultaneously? It feels hella plot convenient, considering like this is such a massive amp and he never got an amp of similar scale to this. But oh well, I guess. As for the tension of this fight, there's practically none. I mean, this fight didn't really feel impactful at all, for one that's supposedly Todoroki's big fight of the arc, considering he pretty much no-diff Dabi after using his ability. There's pretty much no struggle because Todoroki just had that one ability sitting in his ass, waiting for the hand to pull it out. It was a pretty good fight overall, like a 6 or a 7 at most, mostly because of Dabi and the art, considering Todoroki didn't really have much development in this fight, other than just reaffirming he was going down another route compared to Endeavor, which is something that was established extremely early on in the series. So this fight wasn't really impactful for Todoroki at all. So this resulted in Dabi pretty much carrying the entirety of the fight from a narrative and visual perspective. I do plan on making a longer video on My Hero when the war arc concludes, where I'm gonna go into some of the more objective flaws, but also some good things about the arc, but these are just my thoughts of this fight at the moment. Then again, it's likely Dabi is gonna come back for seconds, but honestly, if he comes back, I feel like narratively it's not gonna provide much. Dabi and Shoto are probably gonna get an amp, and then they're gonna fight and shit, which is gonna look cool, It's probably going to be fun for power scalers, but narratively I doubt it will change anything. At most, I think it'll probably just feel like a rehashed version of what we just saw, maybe with a little bit more development from Todoroki, but honestly, I don't think it's gonna change my thoughts about this fight considering Todoroki. There's not much room for development considering how he's been built up so far, but oh well. It's like a 6 out of 10, maybe like a 6.5 fight. Not super good, but not horrible either.